Hello and welcome to episode 114 of Shockwaves. I'm one of your hosts, Rob G. Holy smokes. This is, the whole gang is here. Elric Kane.
Yes. Cheddar Goblin to you.
You're now the Cheddar Goblin?
bandwagon.
We forgot to ask you about that last
I know.
week.
We totally did.
It was
And
a
I
total
noticed
fail on our part.
Sam Zimmerman has a Cheddar Goblin doll. I need to figure out how to get one of those.
Because I'm very curious, was that a commercial that he came up with, or did somebody, like an artist friend? Like, I'm just curious about the whole.
Ryan Turek is here. What's your insight into Cheddar Goblin?
I think Cheddar Goblin is pure Panos. Okay. Also, when I saw Cheddar Goblin back at Sundance, I said that Cheddar Goblin should be elected during the midterm elections this year and be our president.
Yeah.
He would have a shot. People love
Yeah,
him.
I'd say so.
He's
Cheddar
huge.
Goblin for president.
Yeah.
If he passed out mac
For
and
2020.
cheese at his campaign rallies, I'd be there.
He should be like the new Full Moon movie.
Totally, yeah.
Whatever. Rebekah McKendry is also here.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Woohoo.
All right, we're past the White Elm. We're up to Abbey Road right now.
Abbey Road.
Sorry,
We're at Abbey
back,
Road.
We're back at Abbey Road.
I just got to get used to it.
Don't get used to it, guys. This will happen for like one more week, and then it'll be all
I'm
crazy.
about to disappear for 3 weeks. I
Yeah,
think
October's
Ryan's
gonna
out
be
for a
weird.
stretch. And yeah.
We're in
We'll be
and
in and
out.
out.
It's going to be October's insane as it normally is. So there, but we got some fun stuff lined up.
Stuff going on.
We got
Yeah,
stuff
we
going
do
on. It's
have
gonna
some
be
really
fun.
cool bonus episodes. I'll mention up at the top that Elric and I will be at the Knoxville Film Festival, which is the third weekend of October.
It's pretty late if we can figure out how to tape it.
But we're
that May.
we're
If you're
doing
live, you'll hear
We're
us.
doing a
Yes.
live show there regardless to come to the Knoxville Film Festival.
Becca's there for like a day.
I'm
there
literally
for like 4 days.
Yeah,
so.
I'm literally there for like 36 hours. It's going to be
Wow.
crazy.
And we can we announced we can talk about the other ones. So we're doing a couple of Halloween ones, literally Halloween the movie.
Well, we're going to be Beyond
Fest.
Fest with Nick Castle. So
That'll be
if you
great.
come to Beyond Fest on October 6th, they're going to be showing Halloween 1978. We're going to take a little break, do Shockwaves, have a nice conversation with Nick Castle, and then we're going to show Halloween 2018.
But they kicked me off for Nick Castle. I wanted to be there, but they're like, no, Nick Castle's replacing you.
Actually, you called and said you were not interested. So
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, not at
don't
all.
spin it that way, man.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
But they're going to be doing flash tattooing.
my
so
God.
you get a free tattoo.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
You did
What
it
is-
last
Just
time,
like I did it
right?
last time with Evil Dead. This is I got it
Oh,
for
what's
free.
the flash tattoo?
Oh, I don't know what the designs are, but they're
I don't know
Halloween
what it
themed.
is.
Malik Akkad will be there to present
Oh,
both
cool.
Halloween 78 and Halloween 18. And then they're also going to be showing Black Christmas. I don't know what the ticket situation is, but I think they're both sold out. So if you're going, see us.
And
Yeah.
if
And
you're
then-
not, you'll hear our show.
No.
Yeah, and if you missed out on a ticket, just tweet at Ryan Turek, and just I'm sure he can
He'll,
hook you
he'll
up.
totally
And
get
ask
you
me for
one.
one.
Just,
Put on a
just
list.
poke him.
He's got a
Ask
list.
him.
He got you because he's underscore Ryan Turek.
Perfect.
That's right.
Perfect.
There you go. So there's that, and then there's the Halloween convention, right? The 40th anniversary.
Yeah. And we're going to figure out what day. We'll know closer to the date which day we'll be there. But
Sure.
everybody's been asking if we're going to be there, and yes, we will.
We will.
Are we talking to someone specific, or is that still TBD?
TBD.
TBD.
But I will hopefully be getting to meet Tommy Lee Wallace for the first time in my life, which would be a thrill.
If he's a guest,
He's still my dream. I know. I think he is.
We should just get Tommy Lee Wallace.
That would be
I
great.
want him
There we
here
go.
or want him somewhere. He's
Sean Clark, you're probably listening. Tommy Lee for
Tommy Lee is
for the Halloween convention. That would be wonderful.
We'll just do that.
Cool. Well, I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk podcasts really quick. One that I have to recommend you guys if you haven't been listening. Wondery does a lot of great work. Obviously, Mark Ramsey, who's been on our show, has produced the Inside series with them, Inside Psycho, Inside Exorcist, and Inside Jaws. Love them all. But they have just debuted, well, not just, it's been several weeks now. They have debuted something called Dr. Death. It's I guess you'd call it true crime. It is one of the most horrific true crime cases I've ever heard in my life. It was kind of ongoing up until now.
It's not Jack Kevorkian, who was Dr.
No,
Death,
it is a guy named Christopher Dunch, who is a spinal surgeon, and somehow managed to mangle 33 patients, 2 of which died, but kept doing it for years and years before the health board could actually stop him. It's just, the story is so unbelievable, and it episode 1 alone creeped me out more when they describe what he did to people and their anatomy. It is an unbelievable story. I think they just debuted episode 5. 6 is the final one, so that's probably next week.
I'm because like when you have surgery, like it's a room full of people. Like, did people not notice him like rearranging body parts?
No, they definitely did, but it's not that. It's like it's really interesting because it goes very deep into a lot of the issues with the medical profession, especially in this country, because other countries obviously have, different forms of insurance. It's mostly free, but here it's a big money thing. And a lot of it is that neurosurgeons or people that do this complicated surgery literally bring in millions of dollars to a hospital. Mm-hmm. And so they may overlook any rumors they may have heard from previous places, but again, 33 people.
That's wild.
And we're talking about paralysis, like paralyzed for life. Just the details when you hear about what he did to some of these people. And it's like, is he a complete sociopath? Did he intentionally do it? Is he just incompetent?
It's like the blood work guy from Staircase. The guy, remember him?
Yeah.
And it's just like he's doing it all wrong.
Yeah.
Why is he doing it wrong?
Yes, but keeps doing it.
Keeps doing it.
And you don't know why. But anyway, this has been one of the most riveting listens I've had. I've already recommended it to 2 or 3 friends that are like diehard true crime fans, and it's taken all my restraint not to search what happened to him.
Oh, yeah.
Which I may have cheated a little bit because I was like, I need to know before this ends. But Dr. Death, strongly recommended. And also, there's some new podcasts here on the Blumhouse Network.
Yeah.
Wait, we're not alone anymore?
No.
We're not alone.
Well, we've had Mick Garris's postmortem, but
by the way, Mick Garris's new episode with your old buddy Chuck Russell.
Oh, I haven't heard it
is
yet.
Probably one of my favorite episodes he's
Really?
ever done.
Yeah.
It is like, Chuck Russell comes across just as so kind of inspiring, cool, and funny, and just kind of open to the universe about how he approaches filmmaking. And I loved it. Every
Him
second.
and Mick have a little history?
Yeah.
We've known each other for a while.
Yeah,
I
it
think
seems like they had similar kind of trajectories
Yeah.
at times, working in similar places, but less buddy-buddy, but it's just a good interview.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, highly recommend that.
On my queue.
Nice.
We also
But
got
I
this
listened.
morning, actually.
What did you guys listen to?
I've been listening to. I listened to Attack of the Queer Wolf this morning.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
that's one of the new Blumhouse shows with
Yeah.
Mark Fortin, Michael Kennedy, and Nate Bevers.
Yeah. Really, really good insight into Alex Aja's High Tension.
Hopefully Alex
seeing-
will never listen to it.
But yeah, no, I like behind the scenes, I knew it was coming, and I love those guys, and they bring a lot of energy and refreshing thoughts on films that I feel like have been psychoanalyzed to death, but it's just their insight's really great. So.
Yeah, it's a really,
Very
really
funny
fun show.
too, and I love, and Ernie, you got to step it up, man. Their producer behind the scenes, he's talkative on that show.
Wait, Ernie, you participate in this one? Or
No,
you have,
no,
you
no.
got somebody else.
Brennan.
Brennan. Oh, yeah.
Brennan chimes
producer.
in a couple times,
Yeah.
and I
He's got
like
music
that.
cues ready for
Music
the movie.
cues. I
Yeah.
mean, like, what the heck? I did like the part where Mark's like, "Now let's listen to the audio of the trailer."
No, but
then they
that
got
trailer's like fucking nuts.
And then they got
So
about
it's
30
good.
seconds in there, like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah, it's all like sound effects. You're like, all right.
No, Brennan Klein, who is producing that one, because admittedly, Brian and I are a little overworked, so we oversaw the process. But Brennan did a lot of kind of on the ground work on this one, and he's been really on the
good
ball
stuff.
with it.
He's on our
so.
episode with Chris Landon.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he is. So yeah, definitely check out Attack of the Queer Wolf.
And
It
then,
is a fun one.
and then the 6th episode of Fear Initiative, Yeti or Not.
6th, yeah, Yeti or
Yeti
not.
or Not.
Elric,
Yeti or not.
I guess we have to make this.
I like
this
to wait till the
gamble.
season's over.
Oh, really?
I like to take it all in as one.
Yeah, they went through about 5 different options for that name. I liked Are You Yeti? But they ended up going with Yeti or Not. So yeah.
Yeti or Not's good.
Are you
Yeah,
Yeti?
Yeti or Not.
No, that one, it's been getting a great response, and it definitely kind of bridges the two worlds of D&D and horror. And yeah, they are about to start bringing on some guest stars soon as well. Hey, Ernie, you're going to need another microphone. So yeah, but they're going to be bringing on some well-known guest stars to game with them.
Nice.
So it should be fun.
And I didn't know this. Did you guys know that Fright Rags has got a podcast?
You know what? You're right. I just
Saturday
started
Night
listening.
Rewind. I just
Saturday
added it this
Rewind.
morning. I was like, oh, shit. Look at
I
that.
listened to the episode 0, which is more like a prequel episode,
Yeah.
and it's just Ben who runs Fright Rags,
Yeah.
and he'll pop in October on this show.
Yep.
Just kind of giving the history of how Fright Rags came to be.
Oh, it's cool.
Which was just to lead you up until their actual discussions.
Right.
It's pretty good so far.
Nice.
I love it, and Ben I've known Ben for God, 15 years probably, and he's a kindred spirit. He always jokes that we were separated at birth. Listening to that podcast, he's correct. We absolutely are like twinsies.
That's awesome.
So yeah, no, that's a great listen to, and definitely worth. What's it called? Saturday Night Rewind.
Saturday Night Rewind. Yeah.
That's a cool one. Well, anyone make it to Son of Monsterpalooza this weekend? That was the big horror event, which for me kicks off Halloween.
Did.
No,
you did? All right.
Cool thing. So I've been, because I'm in pre-production on the movie, I'm like doing meetings around the clock. And so I picked up Marnie from an art class and I was like, let's stop and get pizza on the way home. This was on Saturday afternoon. And we walk into Blaze or it's the art pizza place that's on Magnolia and Hollywood Boulevard. And it was full of people in horror shirts and people in like full horror garb. And I look around and I'm like, what the fuck is going on today? And then I realized it was Monsterpalooza. But they had taken over my pizza joint, which was awesome.
Well, it was good for Slashback Video, by the way, because just everybody would go down the street, go to the pizza place, and then swing by Slashback. But it was first off, before we get into that, I just want to say thanks to all of the Shockwaves listeners that came out to the Toronto premiere of Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
I was completely overwhelmed by how many people in the audience came up to me and said, hey, I listened to, in fact, there was one listener who sat right in front of me, and he was like, he turned around, man, I'm sorry if I forgot your name, but he turned and he's like, hey, this is kind of cool, but I love Shockwaves, and I'm about to see Halloween, and can I get a quick photo? And I was like, sure. And then while I'm sitting there, the usher comes over, she's like, sir, you're in the wrong seat. And I'm like, I am. And she's like, wait, you're in the wrong theater. And I was like, oh, so that's why I disappeared, young gentleman, because we were playing on two different screens. So I wound up not sitting in that theater.
So you never got a photo with him?
I did get a photo.
And then got whisked away.
I
got whisked away. Yeah. But we have a giant fan base in Toronto. Which
really?
is awesome.
That's insane.
I like that.
It's a very cosmopolitan city, so it's good.
So now we can say, we're big in Toronto.
Yeah, it was cool. It was very cool. But yeah, I did go to Monsterpalooza. The weekend was kicked off by Halloween Horror Nights. Went to Halloween Horror Nights opening. People who have asked, best mazes. Obviously, we had the Blumhouse maze, so I'm a little biased, but best mazes, Poltergeist, hands down.
Oh, man.
One of the best mazes. It takes you right into the world. You get all the great, Poltergeist beats. Everything's there. Carol Ann screaming. You got the giant skull. You've got all sorts of stuff going on. Halloween 4 was equally awesome.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with that. The Universal Monsters revamped maze.
I don't want to know. I kind of want to be surprised.
No, you should be.
I just want to know if it's cool.
It's very cool.
All right,
it's very cool. Slash provides the music for it. It was a lot of fun. And then Stranger Things was a giant maze. Giant. It's not scary. It's a little repetitive. You've got a Demogorgon popping out like every 5 minutes, and you go and walk through some of the environments, but it is probably the largest maze I've ever walked through at Halloween Horror Nights.
Did you have a huge wait? Because I hear even now, even though it's just opening up, it's the longest waits for anything they've ever done.
It was 130 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
It was 100 when we came out, and we didn't have to, we didn't have to wait.
Front of the line.
Yeah. Get the front of the line. Get the front of the line, guys. But they literally put, and I don't think they've ever done this before, they put the maze inside one of the Universal sound stages.
Oh, wow. So you can control a lot more.
You walk inside the actual sound
stage.
That's cool.
Which was kind of neat. And I'm trying to think of the other mazes that were there. There was a Purge, and then there was the Blumhouse of Horrors maze, and those were fun.
Trick or Treat.
Yeah. Great atmosphere.
Oh, did they rearrange it? Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
I'm
confusing it with the Krampus one. You're right.
Yeah, Trick or Treat. Cool. And that was fun, and they broke it up into chapters, much like the film. And
cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So check it out. Monsterpalooza, good time. I subscribe to the fact that the OG Monsterpalooza that happens in Pasadena is remarkably better and larger and has more of a sense of community. And the Burbank one is a little bit smaller.
True.
And feels like I'm seeing a lot of the same vendors.
But did you see the two new museums? Because they incorporated the museums back into Son of Monsterpalooza.
I saw one museum.
They were all the way against the wall.
I saw one museum. Well, they were probably the same ones, but there were museums in the back, and it was mostly art and stuff like that. And some of the I saw like a Pennywise statue. There was like a bunch of stuff, like a penguin. They had Penguin.
Yeah, Penguin was in there.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine. It wasn't as big as like the big showcase one,
right?
Where all the makeup effects guys come out. I do got to say though, guys, I'm a little over conventions putting bars in their actual like dealer's room.
It takes
or
up
just
so
outside.
much space.
It's
It
not-
causes a clusterfuck.
Becca, it's not even about that. It's about the assholes who get drunk and then
too.
decide to walk around and then harass your girlfriend to the point where I need to get in your face.
Okay, that I don't encounter that one
So-
as much. I encounter the clusterfuck crowd.
Yeah, I was not exactly thrilled. Poor Ciara, like there was some dickhead behind her who was like messing with her hair or something like that. She turned around and started yelling at him. And then I got over there and I was like, what's going on? She's like, this guy won't keep his hands to himself. He had his girlfriend with him. And I was like, dude, what's the problem? Oh, nothing. And the girlfriend's like, honey, stop. You know, they were both hammered.
Yeah.
But then it was like got to a point where he just like got a little belligerent. I was like, knock it off with the drinking. And that's when it kind of, he started getting a little sour and his girlfriend just grabbed him by the face and like whisked him away.
Who goes to a
Like,
convention
I mean,
Saturday afternoon to get hammered?
To get hammered, especially
What's
when
the
there's
matter with
kids
you?
there. Anyways,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that to disparage Monsterpalooza because I love Monsterpalooza. I love what Elliot's been doing. I think that it's just like putting a bar just outside or just
That's a venue thing, though.
just to,
That's
you know,
the Burbank
just
Marriott.
keep that separate. Make everybody go to the restaurant. you know?
Yeah, the grill
That's
place
fine.
was where we always went to drink.
Go after.
afterwards.
That's what I do.
But
you
it was
know?
good. It was good for a fun afternoon. We just went over there, you know, kind of kicked around the aisles and took a look at some of the cool stuff and then walked over to Slashback or took a drive down to Slashback to see everybody down there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. Well, I had a blast there. I went Friday night with Rifkin, who is my favorite monster kid nowadays. Just his level of enthusiasm. I made questionable decisions at the Vinegar Syndrome table.
There's nothing questionable about that.
Oh, they're questionable, all right.
Did you buy Psycho Cop Returns?
I've already owned Psycho Cop
okay.
Returns, and that's
That
not
would've been cool to
questionable.
do it
That's
with
a great
Rifkin,
one.
though.
Yeah, no. We went over there. Basically, we're trying to convince them to. They're trying to get his first Riff Coogan movie, Invisible Maniac. But anyway, I digress. So I bought a lot of questionable things from them because. You know, look, I love Vinegar Syndrome, but it's a 50-50 gamble.
70-30.
70-30 for you. But
I'm not going to tell you
Hey
which
guys,
way.
Elric, I'm
we
with
did
Rob on
find
this.
Nightmare Sisters, so
yeah, for every Nightmare
I'm saying
Sisters.
70-30 the other way. The way you're not thinking.
Got it.
I also bought Psycho Cop Returns while we were in Texas, and notice I did not discuss it on the show because if you don't have
Because
anything
it's
nice,
that great.
Because it's great.
No, it is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I give them 100% on the kick-ass scale. Like, I love that they do that. I don't care if it's 70-30 in terms of the ones I like and don't like.
Why
Didn't
gotta tell
they
you.
bring us
No.
blood hook?
They're responsible for Bloodhook.
and
That's
aren't
it.
they Liquid Sky?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're Liquid Sky.
So therefore, they rock all, and they're totally fine.
Listen,
Change of pace, Rebecca.
Josh Miller, my dear friend, I bring up a lot, who watches these movies. He saw the Vinegar Syndrome image that I posted. This is what I bought, and he's like, "When am I coming over?" Because Bloodhook was one of our discoveries, Liquid Sky was another. So he knew there had to be a gem in here, and so he came over, and we went for Body Melt. That was the one that everybody kept commenting. Like,
Is that the
that's really
Australian
good.
movie?
It is an Australian movie.
It's wonderful. It's so trauma.
It's from 1993. Within 10 seconds, we were like, "Oh, this is Gem."
Yes.
I don't know.
It's really good. I'd never heard of it. That's the thing. It's like we were like halfway through it, and it's like, this is the 90s. All right. First of all, the artwork that they did in the previous years is terrible. Yeah. Like, I recognize one or two of them, but this is not the movie that it is. I'm showing Elric now this weird one.
Glowing eyes. Yeah.
The one that they did, that one right there, is awesome. That's the Vinegar Syndrome box, which is like, oh, what's that? That looks cool. It's got a cool little sleeve.
So if you circle back to a Killer POV episode, I discussed this. It was one of our very first ones, but I found this movie on VHS at Eddie Brandt's.
Oh my God!
While we were doing Killer POV. Long time ago.
I'd like to argue that you've never seen it until you've seen this. And
I would believe that because I watched it on a very shitty VHS.
Yeah, this is what I remember. That's
a terrible image. That's the VHS box, and that's a
Yeah.
terrible image.
It is a terrible image.
That's
but
the
that's
reverse
the one
art.
I remember seeing at Blockbuster.
So I was expecting the stuff, but this is way more street trash. It is. I mean, and there's like, and it made sense when we watched the special features after, but there's multiple storylines going on. So basically, there's two naked people right in the opening. The female is shooting an injection into the guy. You're like, oh, they're doing drugs and sex. It's already dirty. I love it. And then the guy basically she's like, he's not going to survive it. You know, he gets on the phone call. He's not going to survive until tomorrow. And so he escapes and he starts kind of melting at the gas station. And then he melts while he's driving a car into a community. And then I guess because he melted outside of his car, it sort of infected other people in the community. But completely side note, there's two totally early 90s douchebag guys, kids, that are on a cross-country trip, and they end up at a farm with a bunch of like Hills Have Eyes family, like a totally inbred, horrific family. One of them hooks up with the daughter, which is just insane. And so you're like, basically, this is the moment when Josh turned to me, he's like, much like Bloodhook, I have no idea what's coming next. That, like, this movie has got me because that, and also when you're halfway through a movie this entertaining, you're like, how have we never heard of it? Like,
it happens,
like there's not even, I mean, the VHS and all, but like, I've never, like, nobody's put it out in any other form. This was a movie that was so beautifully restored, and so crisp in HD. I had to tweet this. I was like, this is the first time I wish my TV was smaller and not in high def, because this movie is really making me sick. Like, it literally made me gag at the effects and stuff. That said, the effects are terrific. And now, don't get me wrong. We're not talking about a great movie by any means.
It's like a trauma level of humor as well.
It is, but it's much, I put it above trauma. Like, trauma doesn't take itself too seriously. This doesn't take itself seriously either.
Oh, see, I consider Trauma a little higher because it was the same kind of punny, lowbrow sophomoric humor, but Trauma at least inserts like a social awareness. This had none of that shit.
But this has an international flavor.
Yeah, it had Australians. Accents go a long way. So it's the Australians, and then when it was over, we watched, I think the director did a new bit on it, and its early life was an anthology based on people in the same town. And I was like, oh, that's why they went in these like 3 or 4 different directions with it. But if you like Bloodhook, which I know Ryan did,
love it.
The long version of it, this
Dave
is
Parker's still mad
and you,
about that purchase.
If you like that and you like street trash,
yes,
this is a gem for you that deserves to be discovered. So Vinegar Syndrome, you got another winner on your hands. Body Melt.
I'm gonna watch it.
Body Melt.
And by the way, listeners, if you have blood hooks that you do not want, please send them to my address.
You're just going to have a wall of blood hooks. You're making furniture out of blood hooks now.
Christmas is coming up.
Well, I mean, like, you don't turn 41 and then suddenly discover what is possibly the greatest horror film of all time. No, I'm kidding.
Big shoes.
Wow.
Elric.
What did we do? We started a school.
Oh, yeah.
We started the Miskatonic Institute of Horror Studies
Elric
in Los Angeles.
and I started a school.
We started a school. We bought a zoo. Me and Bekah and Matt Damon.
We bought a zoo.
We bought a zoo.
It's amazing.
But this zoo had Don Coscarelli in it, so that was cool.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Don was in really fine form, and I mean, this ended up being like he talked for like 3 hours. It was broken up into sections, and he just went super deep and it went super personal. Especially spent quite a bit of time, like over probably an hour, just on the pre-Phantasm period, which I think is probably the most interesting because most of us know the least about it. Him being a 19-year-old filmmaker making a feature, his dad helping him, the stuff we didn't even get to on our show when he came on. And he a lot of good filmmaking tidbits, a lot of stuff about working with studios, and just, totally laid bare. So it was really cool. So
awesome.
So it's all kicked off, and now it's a real thing. And Bekah's up next late October with Aquatic Horror, which will be more us going to lectures versus this was a in conversation, thanks to Jared Rivet, former guest, for an awesome hosting duties. But it was super fun.
We had a really good turnout. I met a lot of Shockwaves listeners there. Elric didn't get to because he was on stage running all the tech stuff, but I ran tickets, and a lot of Shockwaves listeners there, and they were awesome.
Yeah, but it was cool. And also Don's like, I find him really inspirational when he starts talking about that stuff. Like there was one part in particular that got me where he was just talking about, like, almost never did I have an experience where somebody got what the fuck I was doing. Almost never. Like, every project I have, every idea I have, every dream, when I put it out there, people are like, what the fuck is this? I have no idea what this is. I don't want to do it. And so I had to find a way to do it myself. And as somebody who like strays towards those kind of movies myself, I took a lot from that. He's like, you just have to find a way to do it and then show them, because no one understands, no one can read.
Well, listen, Elric, I mean, Purge versus Predator is not your property.
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there because I think both Purge and New Predators could have used a bit of each other this year. They could have.
I liked the New Predator.
Let's just jump in.
Okay, let's jump in.
I have a lot of thoughts.
I loved it.
Everyone saw it except for Ryan.
I haven't seen it.
Okay,
let's spoil it.
I wouldn't say I loved it, but I don't understand that. I think it's a totally fun movie.
Yeah, that was it.
I enjoyed it. I think
it's a pretty solid Shane Black movie, and it's a pretty fun Predator movie. At no point does it ever become a great movie, but like, I would watch The Losers. Is that what they were called?
Yeah,
the Loonies.
Yeah, the Loonies.
I would watch a movie about the Loonies any day of the week with that
they were
cast.
terrific.
They're fantastic. Their timing's brilliant. It's just like, as a whole, I guess it's somewhat colored by hearing so much like, oh, this was interfered. I didn't really notice that much except for like in the editing.
Oh, I noticed.
Yeah, I noticed
In the
some
last
editing.
act. The last
like
act.
there
It's
was
a mess of a
definitely
movie.
no. There were moments where I was suddenly like, where the fuck did they get a camper from? When they just pull up in a camper, I'm like, I don't remember that being there. So there's definitely like some editing issues. That said, it felt like Dream Team. Do you guys remember that Michael Keaton
Oh,
movie?
I love that movie. Yeah.
Dream Team
Dream
as
Team.
the Predator movie. And it's fucking fun. And I loved how small the scope was, because usually Predator films are like world domination, we're saving the world. And this one was about a little boy going trick-or-treating who finds a Predator mask. It was just, and these like the loonies then have to go kind of, save the day. It felt such a smaller scope compared to most Predator films, but I love that it was fun. It was still grandiose. The gore was over the top. It still had all of the things that I like about Predator movies. And it was really self-aware as well, where it was like you were one ugly and, they were nodding at some of the lines and even
there's
making
a lot
fun of Schwarzenegger at moments.
Well, do we know? I mean, I haven't researched enough to know what actually happened behind the scenes.
I did
so,
quite a bit.
Okay, so what happened to this movie? What?
Well, I don't know. I mean, all right, first of all, let me preface this. So obviously there's a lot of controversy on this movie because of Olivia Munn speaking out about one of the actors in it who had a tiny role in it, but apparently he was a sex offender. They were not led to believe that they didn't know he was.
But he's been in every Shane Black movie. Or something.
He was a sex offender of children. So he was registered. You could find him on the website. Shane Black knew this. Other people apparently knew this, and he was hired. And Olivia Munn rightfully just spoke out and said, I share a scene with it. I don't want it in the movie. She went to Fox, and Fox said, okay, we'll take it out.
Yeah, but because of because these are sensitive times, because of the speed in which various people responded to it, it almost became like a problem, or she felt like she was being kind of
Isolated. She was the only one doing press up in TIFF. No one else.
Yeah. And so that's kind of a bummer, because that's the stigma before this movie. That said, but by the way, I totally agree with her. It should have been addressed before they even made the movie, and I'm glad that they at least caught it before it came out. It would have been much worse if it was in there or whatever.
Yeah.
That said, whatever the scene was totally her introduction, because when she comes into the movie, it's just so out of left field, and you're like, what? All right, going along with it.
Not as left field as somebody who exits the movie. I mean, I've never seen anything in my entire life watching movies.
Yeah, there's a very messy
major character who just is suddenly done in a movie where you're like, wow.
Like, it took me a minute to be like,
Like,
was
just
that
gone.
Did that character leave the movie all of a sudden? Or I don't know. I can't even tell.
That was the moment where I was like, whoa, something happened there. But
I think they completely reshot the third act.
Which is the weakest act by far.
Yeah, the third act
is
is all over the place. I
had a lot of fun all the way up until then.
Yeah,
But
there's
it's all
fun
over.
stuff in there, and they do some goofy shit. But
Did he shoot?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think he reshot and fixed it and changed the ending and all that stuff. But the thing is, the fun bits that are still there, like I love the stuff with Keegan and Thomas Jane. Like, they have this great bond and friendship, and so
I like all the characters are fun.
The characters really work, but it's just they're in a slightly messy movie, which feels like studio is like, we want you to do this now or that there. And also, I don't really need explanations or genetic tampering or whatever, however they want to go into that. It's just a creature from space that hunts people. I don't really need more than that.
But there's some pretty cool actual predator stuff. Like, the actual predators themselves are pretty cool in it. So
so I liked it overall, but I recognize it is not a perfect movie like the first one is.
No, the first
but none
one,
of the others are perfect after.
None of them.
So,
No, I would take this over an AVP film.
100%.
Because it has a sense of humor. They take themselves too seriously. That's the problem.
It's still so fun. Yeah,
it's no Predator Purge. And that's, I think, what we're getting at, Brian. So make it happen.
Is it Predator 2?
No.
Predator 2 is awesome.
I like Predator 2,
Predator
but
2 is more consistent.
I haven't seen it in like 12 years, and everyone's like, you should rewatch it. And I was like, I don't know if you're going to change my love of Predator
awesome.
2.
Yeah.
No, this would be my third favorite among them, I think. Because I don't remember Predators.
I like
the third one.
Predator is pretty well made.
Predators is well made.
Nimrod Atoll, is it?
But wasn't it basically a remake of the first one?
It was, but on their planet.
Yeah,
I got you.
I watched that, actually. I watched it when we were at Texas Frightmare, the night that I wasn't going to go out, and then you guys texted me and were like, we're at the party, and I was eating an entire bag of sour cream and onion chips in my hotel room bed, and then you guys were at the party. I had just watched Predators when I came down while eating an entire bag of sour cream and onion chips.
That's a good background story.
Isn't it, though?
I'm glad we got that coloring to know what you were.
It's important to know that I
Yeah.
was eating an entire bag of sour
Wow.
cream and onion chips.
These are the
while
details our
watching.
listeners come for.
Yeah.
I know,
Yes.
they do. But yeah, it actually, I really enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy Predators the first time I saw it, but watching it at Texas Frightmare, maybe it was the chips, but I had fun with it. That's
I'm going to go on a Predator
It moved.
marathon now.
That's the thing I remember. It kind of moved and had a good pace
Yeah.
to it. Good cast again. Like
Yeah,
it was
there's some
interesting
good twists and turns.
I'll tell you what, I'm still thinking like Mandy lingered for me.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell you the thing I think about most isn't actually either of the two leads. It really is Mandy. Like that actress, there's something so haunted about the character she's playing. Like afterwards, I still like her eyes. And then I didn't realize she's the actress from Crocodile from the Black Mirror episode.
Yeah.
And once I saw
She was in Oblivion with Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
She's
she
pretty
looks so
unrecognizable.
different.
Yeah. Pretty,
So
yeah.
that kind of got me excited. But she's really kind of the quiet hero of that movie. Like there's just something really about her presence in that film. And it's not really horror, but after seeing it on the heels of Mandy, I saw First Reform, the new Paul Schrader film that's getting all the kind of award
yeah, I
buzz.
see
And
that.
It's a very minimal movie, so I think it won't be for all types, but it's really emotional horror. Like it's definitely horror in a sense. Like it's a pretty painful watch. Ethan Hawke's utterly terrific. He'll definitely be an award season contender. It goes to a really interesting place, that film. But after it ended, I was like, oh, it's literally Mandy. It's the same movie, same character, but like one is this beautifully made, crazy, stylistic movie, and the other one's the total opposite, total restraint, almost nothing showy. But they're both these tortured characters about loss. So it was just kind of fun to see them back to back. Unfortunately, no Cheddar Goblin in First Reformed, which would have made it even better. But it's interesting. Yeah,
Hey, the Mandy girl, and I mean, this is IMDb, so who the hell knows, but the Mandy
J.R.
girl
Riceburg.
is slated to be in Brandon Cronenberg's new movie, Possessor.
Oh, cool.
Which I've heard good stuff about.
Cool,
Who knows
so-
if that's true or not, but looks good.
So that's those two.
Yeah. First off, I went to the Disney Halloween, which was fun. I always love going to Disney at Halloween, but the cool thing that they did is they changed over the Haunted Mansion to the Nightmare Before Christmas mansion, which is a lot of fun. Hour and 30-minute ride or wait time. So yeah, that one's a bit intense, but yeah, it was a good one. So I had fun with that. And then because I've been prepping for the Miskatonic Aquatic Horror Lecture, I've been watching aquatic horror films I've never seen before. And I happened upon 1965's Sting of Death, which is by Herschel Gordon Lewis.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Weird. I've never
That's
heard of
why
that
I
one.
watched it. So Herschel Gordon Lewis wrote a killer jellyfish movie in 1965. This is 2 years after Blood Feast. And it's directed by, I'm going to say his last name wrong, William Greffey. He did a bunch of low-budget exploitation. I Eat Your Skin was in there. He did Mako Jaws of Death and a whole bunch of stuff like that. This one...
Do you think he's a real guy, or do you think he's somebody we know with an alias?
That's a good question. No,
sometimes
I
that's how
actually
these work
think
out.
he's a real guy because he has a lot of movies.
Born in Miami.
Born in Miami.
must
This
be
was
real.
shot in Miami. So no, this one is about a college girl who goes to visit her dad on an island. He's a marine biologist, and while she's there, people start dying. This creepy scientist assistant named Egon keeps flirting with her, and then it turns into
Egon?
Hiss.
Egon.
I know, subtle. Then it turns into Hiss, but instead of making a giant snake man, they're making giant jellyfish men.
How do the jellyfish look?
Oh my God. So that's the fun part. So this was put out by Something Weird, which will
okay.
give you kind of
Yeah.
the caliber. It's a double feature for Something Weird on with Death Curse of Tartu, which I've never seen. But I pulled this up just so that you guys could see the grade of the jellyfish in this movie. Because they're,
legit.
so, no.
we got
It is,
airbags on our
it
heads.
is pretty much a man in a green
Yeah.
suit with what I swore was a Mylar balloon on his head.
That's no Tony Gardner.
No,
I think
no.
the blob is a little more effective.
No, this there is a brilliant midnight showing of this somewhere where you can sit and laugh at the screen. Otherwise, this was a bit rough to get through
Yeah.
in the privacy of my own living room.
But I like how diligent you're being.
I
That's the main
know,
thing.
I know, but I had to cover it because as soon as you say Herschel Gordon Lewis wrote a jellyfish movie, I'm like, okay, I'm fucking there. So that's Sting of Death, which you can still find on DVD through Something Weird.
Sting of Death.
I think he looks awesome, the Sting dude.
He actually looks a little bit,
That's pretty cool.
a little bit like Mysterio.
Yeah, he's got a
You know?
Mysterio look to it.
Yeah.
I'd run up to him with a giant fat marker and just draw a happy face on it.
See, I would just be like, I could take scissors and pop your bubble, dude, and we're done. Sharp nail, and we're good. So yeah, but it's definitely this would be a good screening for you and Josh Miller.
Okay.
That
On it.
type of movie.
I'm on
It's
it.
off brand.
Yeah.
Off-brand for those two.
Yeah.
Really quick, I just want to talk about two TIFF titles that made their debut.
What is TIFF for the
Toronto International Film Festival?
go.
Thank you, Elric. The first one I saw was Peter Strickland's In Fabric.
Okay, that's one of the ones I'm most looking forward to. Because his
director
last movie
of-
was just incredible. But
Yeah, and he also did, that was the Duke of Burgundy, which
Duke
we're
of
talking
Burgundy,
about.
just
Then he did
aesthetically.
Barbarian Sound Studio, which I've not...
yeah,
a
that should be our
giant
favorite.
I
but
want to love that movie.
I know.
And then the one before it, which is the rape revenge film set in Transylvania, is fucking amazing. The name just escaped me, but on the Pure Cinema Revenge episode I did, it's his first film. It's fantastic.
Really?
Like,
Wow.
it really sets like the bar high.
Looking
Like,
it
oh
up.
my God, what is this guy going to do? You know?
I'm happy to report that In Fabric is fantastic, and you're going to love it.
I can't wait.
We'll talk about it more when it comes along, but it got picked up by A24.
Cool.
From a bird's eye view, this story is basically about a haunted dress and how it passes from owner to owner, kind of destroying their lives as it goes. On a granular level, thematically, it's about consumerism and obsession and beauty and it's all done in that kind of sumptuous Strickland style with
Yes.
beautiful production design and wardrobe and just very warm visuals and great performances. And the score, it's weird because I looked it up on IMDb and there's nobody credited for the score. And it is fantastic. Like, I literally wanted to go back and watch very key scenes that have this very lyrical, beautiful
I wonder why that is.
score. I don't know. Maybe they probably just didn't flesh out the IMDb. The story itself, predominantly actress, it's Marianne Jean-Baptiste. She's done a bunch of stuff. She was on Homeland. She carries much of the emotional weight of the film, playing a single mom who's looking to get back into the dating scene. Keep in mind, most of it looks like it was set in like the 60s and 70s. So
Like
it's
his
just
other
like,
films.
yeah.
They all kind of have that period.
And she's got a son who lives at home, and she's getting out back into the dating scene. She writes into a newspaper, like the single section, and fields various dates. And she buys this dress from this clothing store. And the clothing store is run by these very weird, sinister individuals who wear nothing but black clothing. They look like, I don't know, just like rich, weird aristocrats, but they're great salesmen. Like, they're great saleswomen, and they sell her on this dress, and she tries on the dress for one date. Date goes horribly awry. The next morning she wakes up, she's got this really weird rash on her chest, and her life just starts to take a downward spiral, and she tries to return the dress, but they won't take it back. And then when she just throws the dress in the closet, and like one night she wakes up and the dress is hovering over her bed.
Oh, cool.
So there's some really cool visuals. And then we occasionally dip back into the clothing store and get to know some of the employees there. And they have very peculiar rituals that they do with mannequins and other clothes.
Yeah, when I saw the still for this, I thought of Tourist Trap. I was like, instantly, I just saw still, and I was like, ooh, Tourist Trap.
Well, it's shot in
Yeah,
a
that one,
very,
yeah.
That's a great shot.
Yeah.
It's the...
Don't tell us too much more plot.
No. That's about as far as I got to go. But, photographically speaking, it's very fetishistic when it comes to mannequins and the dress itself and the fabric and all that stuff. It's just a really cool, bizarro, weird movie, and it doesn't give you a whole lot of answers. And it's got that very deliberate Strickland pace. If you like his other films, you're definitely going to love this one.
Yeah.
If you're the casual horror movie goer, I still suggest you check it out. You might walk away a little disappointed because it's not your typical horror film whatsoever. It's just a really great art piece.
He's definitely channeling a little bit of Sergio Argento aesthetically, like more.
Oh
so
no,
than even the Americans.
Giallo stuff is all over the
Yeah,
place.
yeah,
All over
that's
the place.
his-
Yeah.
Nice.
That's very interesting.
And really quick, I'll just talk about Necrotronic. Necrotronic is
Before
from
we
the
move on, the
yeah.
movie you were trying to remember is Caitlin Varga.
Yeah, Caitlin Varga. That one's it's really
I don't think I've ever seen
terrific.
that.
Like, and especially because there haven't been many big British directors in the last, besides like Wheatley, and who have burst through. And he just
Wheatley is one of the Wheatley's a
thing.
producer on In Fabric.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then really quick, and I got to zip back.
Actually,
out for
Strickland
5
was
seconds.
a film critic before. He was a film critic before.
Yes,
before he made a film.
Yeah. One that was a TIFF entry starring Monica Bellucci. Necrotronic came from the directors of Wormwood. I don't know if you ever saw Wormwood.
I
which is
really like that. Was
really
the Hammer
crazy.
movie, right?
No.
Errol Morris's
Worm
series.
WYR R.M. Wood.
About a year or two ago?
about a year or two ago.
Wakewood
Yeah,
was the
Wakewood,
Hammer
yeah.
film.
I like that one,
Wormwood was post-apocalyptic, weird
Zombies.
wars.
Right,
So we're not talking about Aramoris, basically.
No, we're not talking about
All right. Let's just be clear.
This one is basically about a...
We have too much knowledge.
You guys
Look
say,
at that.
yeah,
That
no,
was like
it's hard to get in.
That was a lot going on right there.
Wow.
But this one stars Monica Bellucci. I'm going to tell it to you really quick because I know I'm losing you.
AKA
It's
most gorgeous
basically-
woman on earth, right? Monica Bellucci still has to be,
Oh my
basically.
God, Elric,
Come
you're
on.
killing me.
All right. Sorry. Continue.
You're never going
5
to get
seconds
this
to
phrase
get
out.
through this.
Wait, what did you want to say?
All right, I'll be back. I got to go introduce
He
something.
literally does have to go to something.
He'll be back.
Well, while he goes to...
Here's my thoughts on Necroton.
So Monica Bellucci.
She was married to the guy from Irreversible. Well, they're both from Irreversible.
Yeah.
But I think that
what
might be everything.
what a couple movie.
I
to
know,
do.
what a weird movie to meet over and fall in love, but what can you do?
You know what I'll mention? Elric, you could tell me, you may have spoken about this at some point, but I just watched Bushwick, which
You
came
mean
out...
the Brooklyn survival
Yeah.
thing? You know what? I never watched it. I remember
okay.
hearing about it at South by.
Yeah.
And then it's on Netflix. I
Yeah,
scroll by it,
I recently
you know?
got the Blu-ray. I think because it's one of the RLJ releases. Our good friend Mark Ward hooked me up with it, and I put it off for a little while, even though I love Dave Bautista, who's the lead star of it, and more so because of how outspoken he's been over the James Gunn thing. I just like him as a. There's something about him I just watched the new Blade Runner, and I think he's really great in that
that's a good
too.
scene in it.
But it stars Dave Bautista and Brittany Snow, and it's really interesting. It's directed by the guys that did Cooties. And now Cooties is an over-the-top kind of horror comedy. Jonathan Milliot and Carrie Murnion. But it was written by Graham Resnick and Nick Tamici.
Yeah.
Oh.
And, those are like
Yeah.
Glass Eye guys. They did, Nick Tamici does all the stuff with Jim Mickle. Stakeland and stuff like that. So when I saw their screenwriting credit, I was like, why didn't I watch this sooner?
Yeah.
Like, had I known? And it's really interesting. It's, it was just interesting. It's basically... Brittany Snow's coming home to Brooklyn to visit her grandmother in the opening sequence. She's in the subway with her boyfriend. And basically, the lights kind of start to go out and come back on in the subway. As soon as they come up to the surface, basically all hell is broken loose over the course of this train ride. But it's not zombies or anything. Some elite force, it's almost like Red Dawn style, where somebody has literally come in and is just shooting and fighting people. And then obviously there's people on the streets of Bushwick that have weapons back. So it's basically all out anarchy and kind of people just fending for themselves. And Brittany Snow is the lead character, Lucy, and she stumbles upon Stoop, who is Dave Bautista, and basically they're trying to navigate to her grandmother's house and pick up her sister and basically try to figure out what the hell is going on and how to get out of there. Because obviously some war zone has happened and you don't need to know, you hear more about it as the movie goes on. But what's interesting about it also is it's pretty much in real time. So it's not edited like a traditional movie. Like you are with them on the train and then everything happens. So it's almost like
in media res, you're dropped in the middle.
It's like the opening. Yeah, it's like the opening scene of a zombie movie when shit goes down, but it's not zombies, where you're in the middle of it trying to figure out in real time what you would do. And so, it's not anything. I just thought it was really interesting.
Doesn't it have something to do with 9/11? Because that's why I didn't watch it. Because I was like, that sounds heavy.
No, there's a slight connection.
Okay.
But I mean, you can't not reference, if something terrible, something like this is happening in New York, you can't
you're gonna
reference.
have to talk about
so
it.
one of the characters may have been a survivor of that. And
that's
why.
all. For
But
some
it's-
reason, I thought that there was like a much stronger through line
No,
with that. And I
not
was
at
like,
all.
that doesn't sound like something I would enjoy. But
No, not at all. And it's an interesting technical experiment, but more than anything, I just thought, God, it was scary how relevant possible it is right now with all that's going on. But it was interesting, and again, Cooties got a lot of attention, and I haven't heard a lot about this one.
No, this one played at the festival, and it got on my radar, and then I didn't hear about it.
I would check it out. I think you would appreciate
I like Resnick.
the filmmaking
by
about it. Yeah,
Tamici, so.
yeah. So Bushwick, check that one out.
Okay.
All right. Well, Ryan, I guess will join us after.
Yeah, well, okay.
What else have you seen before we grab our guest?
I watched Haunters, the documentary, which
yeah?
we'll get into more in a second. But
Ryan's back.
But I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Hey, Ryan, tell us about Monica
Bellucci?
Nah, we moved on.
No, we
Necro-
haven't. We actually haven't.
Necromantic.
We've been talking about necromantic.
We were on necromantic.
I tried to cover you for necromantic or necronomic.
Necromantic.
Electric Traumaca.
Erotic, yeah.
That's the one.
I don't know. What were you guys talking about?
We're just talking about Monica Bellucci. Just general. Yeah,
well,
general.
I mean,
things.
like, this is definitely not the movie to, talk about Monica Bellucci.
Have you seen Milena? She's really good in that.
It's okay, all right.
What is that?
Giuseppe
anything
Tornatore's
else?
film.
Is there anything else?
We were talking about Wormwood, the guys who made Wormwood.
No, but is it good?
Actually,
you're about to tell
no,
us.
it's not
Is it
good.
a
It's not good.
Oh, it's not good.
No,
See, why are we
no.
talking about it?
That's exactly my point. But if you let me get through there.
Oh.
No,
There's the punchline.
There is. All right, here's the one thing I will talk about if you guys give me a second.
Yeah, all right.
Today is Fantastic Fest. By the time you listen to it, we're about the second day in. There's a fantastic film that you guys need to pay attention to. It's called You Might Be the Killer from director Brett Simmons.
Oh.
He did Husk, which was the After Dark original film Scarecrow thing. Came out a few years ago. He did a sci-fi original movie called Animal. This one stars Fran Kranz from Cabin in the Woods, Allison Hannigan from How I Met Your Mother. And basically it's a mix of The Mask, yes, with Jim Carrey, meets Friday the 13th. Okay. And basically, Frank Kranz plays,
which is the original Mask. The comic book of the Mask.
Well, that's why people don't associate the Mask with the comic
but
book, unfortunately. But basically, it is Frank Kranz plays a camp counselor at a summer camp, who were basically into the end of a slasher movie where all of his fellow counselors, save for two, are dead, and he's on the run from a masked killer. And he calls Allison Hannigan, who is his best friend and a slasher movie fanatic and knows all the rules and tropes, and basically talks with her about how to get out of this situation. And we kind of backtrack into how he got into that. And there are a lot of fun surprises, a lot of fun tropes that are turned on their head. And the movie actually has its own theme song at the end, too, which is kind of cool. But it debuts at Fantastic Fest this weekend, and it's pretty stellar. It's
called
really
You
funny.
Might Be the Killer.
You Might Be the Killer.
Love it.
Yeah.
But the bonkers one I have to mention before we go on is a new film by Arrow. That's one that Bekah likes a lot. So this is a movie where if you're sitting at home watching Valerie and Her Week of Wonders, and as it wraps up, you're like, man, this just isn't weird enough for me, then this movie is the one for you, because I thought I was weird loving Valerie.
I love this
movie's
fucking movie.
so fucking weird. This is Horrors of Malformed Men by Ishii. This has to be one of the strangest movies I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of strange fucking movies.
It's so fun.
The entire time I was going, what kind of movie is this? It's like a mixture of so many genres, but it's really interesting. If this is your jam, like totally bizarro cinema, it's getting a
This
beautiful.
is called Valerie and Her
That's a
Week of-
different
No,
one.
Valerie.
I'm saying,
What are you talking about?
I'm
Valerie
saying
on the
if
Stairs?
you watched that and thought it wasn't weird enough because that's a weird fucking movie.
Okay.
Then this is the movie for you.
What's this movie called?
This is called Horrors of Malformed Men.
Oh,
Japanese film.
okay, I got it.
So even
I
though
love
that
Valerie,
it's
too.
weird, there's a lot of layers to this, because I remembered I watched this in college like a long time ago when I was doing a paper on reflections of the atomic bomb in cinema. And so even though that it is this fucking bonkers movie about this woman who goes to this island and there's like...
But it's a dude. No, dude goes to the island.
Yeah, but there's like weird stuff, like malformed people on it. And there is a woman. It's been a couple
There's a
of
woman
years
on the
since I've
island,
seen it. But yeah, it's obviously kind of a allegory for Hiroshima. So even though that it's
Through
fucking bonkers.
many layers of strange rapey creations
Yes.
and weird genetic alteration. It's a little Dr. Moreau. There's a bit of Moreau, but it's basically, I mean, I've never once in my life had to write down the synopsis of a movie for the show where I cut and paste from IMDb just because I knew coming on, it's like, I wouldn't even remember what the fuck happened. A guy escapes an insane asylum. He's a medical student. He then sees that some guy has recently passed away who looks exactly like him and is exactly like him. So he adopts his personality of a rich family, and then he finds out that guy's father is on a mysterious island where he's creating some sort of special island. So he's like, I got to get in on that. Goes to the island and then discovers that he's got this island of weird genetically altered people. Some people are sewn together, twins, and their plan, the malformed men, is like, oh, we're gonna all get together because we're all freakish men, and then we're gonna get all the pretty women. That was like the whole plan. But it is a deeply strange movie. I was just watching it last night going, man, I mean, I love that about movies. Like, just when you think you've seen the strangest thing you could imagine, it's like there's another movie out there. There always is. Yeah. The ending gets quite generic, ironically, kind of gets all tied up really cleanly by a detective character. But the one thing I will say that's cool about this, it's written by, and I always loved telling people about this movie. Edogawa Rampo is basically the Japanese Edgar Allan Poe. He kind of took that a pen name in the 60s, I think, and wrote a lot of stuff. And there's a movie about him that's very Lynchian that I always try to push onto people. It's one of my favorite things I've ever discovered, called The Mystery of Rampo, and it got no release in America.
Yeah.
I talked about it on Pure Cinema a lot,
that.
and it's
And
a
Killer
magic.
POV, I think,
yeah,
once.
and I much prefer that to this, but they're kind of worked nicely together because this is one of that guy's stories.
Now, have you seen Rampo Noir?
I haven't seen Rampo Noir. I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's good.
It's also about him.
It's his stories. I will
Makes
say
sense,
it's been a couple of years. I'm Googling it now to make sure. Yeah, Rampo Noir 2005. It's been a while since I've seen it, but it's an anthology movie that's like multiple short stories from him.
Cool.
And it's really cool as well.
So, if you like the weird, this is it. Arrow is giving
Horrors
it to you.
of Reformed Men.
Horrors of Malformed Men.
Malformed.
Malformed.
Yeah.
They are not reformed. They are malformed.
They're malformed.
They're
not
anything
reformed.
but reformed.
All righty.
Well, let's keep getting weird.
We are going to keep
Let's
getting
get weird.
Extreme.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited. Get the dog food ready.